All right, we are live. Gotta love technology. Welcome to the scene live, everyone. This is a space for entrepreneurs who are building something meaningful and want a business that supports their life, not just their income. I'm Kim Speed. I'm a brand clarity coach and entrepreneur, and I work with experienced professionals who have started service based businesses but are still struggling with inconsistent clients. On this show, we share real stories, what actually worked, what didn't, and the lessons that you only learn by doing the work. My goal is to help you get clearer, feel more confident, being visible, and build a business that's more stable, aligned, and sustainable. And I'm really glad you're here. So, my guest today is someone who truly understands the power of connection in business, leadership, and life. So, I have Tammy J. Cohen with me today, and she has spent more than 2 decades helping people and businesses clarify who they are, what they stand for, and how they build credibility through relationships. As the founder of TC Brand Consulting, Tammy has worked across industries, helping leaders articulate their mission, vision, and values while leveraging meaningful connections to create opportunity. The natural ability to bring people together also led Tammy to create Women Beyond the Table podcast. And Tammy is also an award winning author and sought after speaker. We're going to hear more about that. Let me just bring up Tammy now because I am so excited to chat with you. Tammy, I'm so glad you're here with us today. Hello.
Hi, Kim. How are you? It's so great to be here. I'm very excited, and thank you for the opportunity to share our stories, right?
Oh, exactly. And you are so great at that. And we'll get into that. But Tammy, I always start here. How did you begin your entrepreneurial journey? What moment made you realize that you wanted to build something of your own?
Well, it's very interesting because my father was an entrepreneur, may he rest in peace. And he came to this country, he was a Holocaust survivor, didn't have anything, but he figured it out and he opened up his own businesses and he wasn't fearful. I mean, he went through hell and he came here and he was determined to build something. So I grew up in that kind of mentality. And myself, I always, worked part-time jobs, after school jobs. Eventually, of course, went to college. It was always my parents, especially later on in high school, I was encouraged to make my own money and support
Yeah.
myself, like almost, like pay for my own things. And it kind of gave me a backbone to go out there and not be afraid to try things and do things because I had to, I had to be able to earn some money. And if I wanted to have spending money, if I wanted to go out and do things, it wasn't just handed over.
Right.
So eventually I got my MBA and I always worked, in company. I started working in companies. And then at some point I got married and I started having kids and I had babies. And I realized that I needed, that whole thing about, oh, you can have it all and da 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 da, da and, blah, blah, and balance. And, I
Yeah.
found the whole work-life balance thing challenging, especially when I had young children. So I started thinking like, I am good at connecting with people. I know people. I have established, it's easy for me to meet people and connect with them. And this is way before networking was a thing. I mean, now it's like a buzzword, but back then
Yeah.
it wasn't. And I just leveraged, people I knew. And I was like, listen, I'm in marketing and I'm in this specific role of marketing because marketing is a really big continuum. Like, let's face it,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
people think, oh, you do marketing? Can you do PR? And I'm like, no, I'm
Yeah.
not a PR dude. But at the end of the day, I started working really with small business because I always was drawn to that solopreneur, that entrepreneur, that person is going out and building because that was my father, right?
Yeah.
That's what I grew
Yeah.
up in. The corporate thing never really felt right for me, or big, this whole big thing. But the funny thing is that I was working with small businesses, and one thing led to another, and I wound up working with a global client, and that was something but they operated like entrepreneurs. They thought like entrepreneurs because it was really the CEO was very entrepreneurial, but it was just a big company. And
Right.
as time wore on, I did that, and I started branching out more and more into my own realm and my own things in the gem and jewelry space. But when I founded Women Beyond the Table, which was a business network that now has become a podcast, and I
Right.
did that for a couple of years. There were so many women who were just like becoming solopreneurs. They were leaving the corporate world, especially during the pandemic. People like,
Right.
I don't want
Yes.
to go back to this. I want to do something different, and they just needed a lot of help because now they don't have teams. It's them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I started realizing that I can help people with their messaging and women, and I started really enjoying it. And eventually that segued even into finding my mission in life, which is really personal messaging and how it kind of ripples out into business messaging. But it starts with the personal, like leading with empathy. It's a little bit, I've kind of branched out even a bit from there into what I'm doing. Instead of just brand messaging, it's more personal messaging and moving that out because we are human beings in a world
Yeah.
of cognitive overload at this point. So that's where my lane is.
Well, and it's interesting because I know that along the way you picked up the moniker, the messenger and connector. Now, how did that come about? And when did you realize that connecting people and ideas was really your zone of genius?
These are all great questions, of course. But okay, so I realized that I had this affinity for connecting because people started bringing me in to work with them, to help them, and I thought it was more messaging, but it was like, no, yeah, we want you to connect. Like, here's some people that we think you would be great. Why don't you reach out to them,
Yeah.
tell them what we do? And I'm just like, okay. So because I was it's comfortable for me to speak to people. And listen, pre-pandemic, it was more in person.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Well, that
yeah,
really,
right.
that's
Our
how we all
generation,
built our businesses in person.
yeah,
And
having social skills, which has
yeah.
kind of been lost, right?
Yeah.
So that was always my forte. And I remember, this is funny, a very dear friend of mine, she was always on the shy side, and she's, she was from Morocco. So she wasn't, American. So I understood like the shyness, and she came in
Yeah.
here and it was like hard a little bit. And she was like,
It's intimidating.
yeah. And we take it for granted because we're, like, I'm like, oh, I was born in Manhattan, so whatever. But she said to me, I don't know, how do you do that? I go, do what? She goes, like, I'm watching you start a conversation over a cucumber in a supermarket. And I was like, really? Like, it's so natural to me to start talking to somebody like about anything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I realized it's something that I enjoy doing, and the connection part. Let me put it to this way. This is you're gonna laugh over this. So I was never good at matching people for love. I
Okay.
match people for love, and they want to really not hitting off, like not ever want to go out again. That's not my thing. But I would connect people like business wise. Say, you know what, you guys would be great collaborators together. You guys could do wonderful things. You should exchange services. Like you should talk to each other. That was my thing. And Women Be on the Table. I think the reason I even started that whole network was because I enjoyed doing that. And it's not, I don't
Yeah.
do it for a fee. I was never doing it for a fee or,
Oh, and I have to
doing
say,
it, please.
Tammy,
Yeah,
I
I just
I
did it
have to
because I
say
love
when
it.
we met, that was the one of the first things you were doing. Like we chatted about each other, and that was exactly what you started doing. You said, "Oh, I got to introduce you to this person and this person." I was kind of laughing because I'm like, "Well, we just met."
I know. I hope I did it because I have a little bit of still like foggy brain. So sometimes I get so caught up, like, oh, I'm gonna do this, this, and this, and then distraction comes.
No,
Like,
you
oh,
did. You
fuck that.
sent me like this list of people,
Yeah, I just
and
like hope
yeah,
I follow through
awesome.
because sometimes I mean to follow through and then I'm like, oh, I'm distracted. I'm going over here now.
Yeah, yeah, that happens to me too. But connection has always been a through line in your work, whether it's branding, leadership, community building. When did you realize that connection wasn't just a personal strength, but a real business advantage? Like, how did you realize that?
Well, because people started understanding that I think what's happening today is that people are looking to kind of build trust, right? They're
Yeah.
trying to figure out how to get through the noise because there's so much noise. And I started realizing that, especially with the growth of AI,
Yeah.
and everybody's kind of leaning into AI in a big way, and AI is kind of becoming this thing that people are using to think for them
Yeah.
instead of using it more as get tasks done quicker.
Right. Right.
And so we're losing some of this because everything is becoming so polished, you know, and
Yeah.
people aren't feeling that they're not feeling like this is a human connection. Like
Yeah.
they're
There's no
reading,
raw emotion coming through.
no, and they're reading a lot of very polished thought leader. Everybody's a thought leader, and and you
Yeah.
start getting, and with automation and all this, you start getting way more information coming at you. Let's put it that way, more
Yes.
with more coming
We are
out.
bombarded.
But if you don't feel that you're seen or you matter, it's not going to land. As a matter of fact, AI content does get seen, it just doesn't get remembered. What gets remembered is something that resonates to you,
Yeah.
is something that's real, is something that touches you.
Yeah.
It's something that there's emotion, there's a tone, there's something that you feel too, even if when you go on LinkedIn, right? I mean, what gets skyrocket response and engagement? You're a
Yeah.
person,
Something
you're
personal.
a leader, but you're sharing something that you've experienced, something with your family, something
Yeah.
where you with your parents, something, a hardship.
Yeah.
People relate to that. How did you get through that? How did you manage? What did you learn from it? You're being real. And
Yeah.
people are yearning for that. They're yearning for real. They're yearning for heart. You're learning because the world is becoming almost like technology with how fast it's moving, and it's intimidating, is kind of
Yeah.
sucking the humanity out of things. And that's how people feel. So at the end of the day, I realize if you want to connect with people, you should focus on less connection instead of more connection. And the less connection, that's where you should start really focusing on building relationships that are authentic and building and creating trust, because trust is the new currency.
Yeah.
And worrying about reaching everybody with and looking like some brilliant, like have all the answers, it just doesn't resonate. It's
Yeah.
actually better to come off as a human being and say, I don't have all the answers, I'm figuring it out. Let's figure it out together.
Yeah.
Show that you have process, and then trying to be this perfect entity and this polished entity and this brand, be a human first. And that's your
Yeah.
superpower, is being a human being. That's it.
Well, and it's interesting you say that too, because I've noticed there's so there's a lot of change in the market, especially for training and learning and building your business, and just learning things in general. People are looking for that human connection instead of just watching a video online or listening to words on the screen kind of thing. People want to see and hear, and they want to, it doesn't have to, as you said, it doesn't have to be perfect, but let's learn together, let's figure this out together and have that human connection. And one of the reasons I do this is because I love having human connection. I'm actually having a real conversation with you.
Exactly. I mean, I always say when I start talking to people, I'm like, what do you think your superpower is? Like, tell me what's your superpower? And everybody's like, oh, I'm this. I do this well. I do. And I'm like, yeah, that's important. But you're at your core, you're human. We're humans. And we're in this world that's this algorithm fatigue. There's so much engagement going on, and your brain really isn't. That's not how we're wired. I mean, we're kind of ancient. Our brains are ancient.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah.
They are. Our brain
Yeah.
is our brain. We use a certain percentage of it. We have now, yeah, younger people, there's technology, people are really like into it. But at the end of the day, it's our brains are wired for certain things. And when you're constantly being flooded with information and you're constantly, oh, here's this link is coming to you, this, watch that, do this, come there. Oh, here's a webinar, here's this, oh, another newsletter, like 10,000 of them are coming in. And it's all automated. So, it's very easy and you're getting flooded.
Yeah.
Well, you get
Yeah.
so distracted, you no longer can think. You no
Yeah.
longer can focus. Creation becomes difficult. We need
Yeah.
time to be deliberate. We need time to think. We need time to be introspective. Our brain needs a break.
Yes.
Okay? And when
Yes.
people are going through this disconnection, because that's what's happening with all of this information, we have more ways to connect than ever, Kim, and people are more disconnected than ever. And this is fact. This is research. People are disconnected. Being disconnected leads to like a disengagement almost. That's what happens. You start disengaging because you're like,
Well, it's almost like a
yeah,
safety feature because
yeah. Well, your brain is like shutting down.
yeah, I cannot take all this.
And and I can't think. And
Yeah.
then what happens? You can't commit. You
Yeah.
lose
And you
trust. You
don't.
can't commit because
The
you don't even
decision.
know what to commit to. You don't even know what's going on.
Yeah.
And people are afraid to almost admit that, so they don't want to look like they can't keep up. And then you have other people like, wow, I need to be putting out more information because look at all this information everybody's putting out, and I'm not. Like, so now you feel this pressure that you have to like engage in all that. And it puts a lot of stress on people. So I think what's going on with technology, as great as it is, it's more important that you take your time to think, reflect, and to not have 10,000 connections, but to have
Yes.
really 5 good ones. Don't worry about impressions. Don't worry about likes. Don't worry about followers. Don't worry about people who are looking and downloading because that's not truly connecting. You know what? I know people who are opting in all over the place and getting a free download. They're not connected.
No. No.
So think about it. Would you rather have 10 really good new connections or 10,000 impressions? Would you rather have one person who's saying, hey, I would love to have a call with you and learn more? Or would you rather have 5,000 more impressions that goes nowhere? So be more choosy and really know who you want to connect with and go from there. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with looking at your connections and leveraging them too. Like saying, hey, I know like with my connections, I can ask anybody a question and they will answer me. They will help me. They'll
Yeah.
help me figure it out. They will connect me to the next person who can help me more. It's not just about transaction. It's not just about, are you going to give me business?
Yeah.
No,
It's not about
it's not about that.
pulling your wallet out.
It's about people want to help each other in a real, genuine way and collaborate and do for each other in a non-transactional way. I think when things become too transactional, relationships become more fragile.
Yeah. Well, I want to dig into some more relationships and more personal ones of yours. Let's talk about your book. You have a book called Text Messaging to My Sons.
Yes.
It's such a unique approach to connection in a tech-driven world. So tell us about this. Like, what inspired you to use text as a way to communicate deeply with your sons?
Well, it's really interesting. And thank you for bringing up the book. Here's what it looks like. Text Messages to My Sons, a guide to using mobile devices to connect and communicate with your kids.
And it is on Amazon, and I'll make sure we have a link.
And Barnes and Noble and in indie bookstores and good things like that. So, okay, back. So now BC, when I say BC, it's before COVID. It's not like thousands of years ago. So,
I love it. I love it. Yeah, yeah.
World, right?
Everything's sped
up over COVID because people were like, I need to be on, everything was digital. Nothing,
yeah.
And people could only connect digitally. You couldn't go anywhere. You couldn't be in person. So I remember when everything shut down and I was working with my big client and I was traveling nonstop. Every 2 weeks of the month I was away. And then everything stopped and my business halved, my pay, everything was halving. And I was very externally motivated. My whole validation, my whole sense of worthiness was external. And I realized a lot of the time I was always resentful or angry, or I didn't even know what limiting beliefs was, because, they don't teach this to anybody growing up. And I didn't really know why I was unhappy or why I was feeling these feelings. So when things shut down, I said, I need to explore like what's going on with me. So of course I hired a life coach and a business coach, and then I got into Tony. I was on Unleash Power Within, and I was reading every book and every thought leader and Mind Valley. I was just going all out. I think over the years I was just involved with courses. I could be accredited 20 times over to be a coach, but I never went for accreditation. I just love learning. And the
Right.
more I was reading, the more I was learning, the more I was like doing these things, I was like, wow, gratitude, appreciation, mindset, limiting worthiness. Like, they don't teach us this stuff in school. My generation, we didn't know any of this stuff. I mean, and my kids
No.
also, like, they don't teach it. Okay. They don't
Right.
they
Right.
don't get into any of this stuff. And I realized I was learning about generational discord and the subconscious and things. And I realized I had a lot of that in my background. So the first thing I wanted to do was, I found it so fascinating. I wanted to share it with my sons. I wanted to share what I was learning, because it was blowing my mind. And look, let's be honest, Kim. Okay, I don't
Okay.
know. You have kids. I have kids, right?
I do.
Like,
Yeah.
you try to sit them down for an in-person conversation. You try to sit anybody down for an in-person conversation. It's not
Yeah.
happening. I own
Yeah.
a restaurant with my husband, right? It's on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. People are
Yeah.
sitting at the table, they're looking at their phone. They're right there with each other, unless they're on a date. That's a little different. But anyway,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, if I want to reach these guys, I got to reach them where they are, not where I want them to be. They're
Hmm.
on their phone. Everybody has a phone in their hand, in their back pocket, or in their bag. That's it. So if
Yeah.
I want to
So
reach
true.
them, I have to text them. I have to message them. So I just started like thinking, okay, I want to change the conversation. I want to share. I want to share what I'm learning. And I have no expectations of response from them,
Okay.
because I want to be unconditional. I want to do this for them. I don't need them to answer or tell me, "Wow, mommy, you're great," because they're guys. They're not. That's not what they're going to start with. I love you, mommy. Hearts, emojis. No, it doesn't really work like that. So, and I get it, and I started messaging them, but it wasn't a one-off. You can't do it like, "Hey," one day, and then you're gone for you ghost for a couple of days or a week or 2 weeks, like, or "Love you, make good thoughts, make good choices." Like, it doesn't work like that. So I started with the messaging them and sharing what I was learning. But Kim, within no time, it became so heart centered. I was never empathetic.
Right.
These feelings started pouring out of me, where I was just like, I love you, like how much I love them, how thankful I am that they are in my life, like how much they mean, how much they matter, but like just how extraordinary they are, how worthy they are, like how they're everything. And then over time, I was talking about resilience, like there's no failure. I never want them to feel like they failed, that you're learning, and gifts, and life gives you gifts. And then I got into accountability, like explaining like all the times I was yelling and screaming and saying awful things, and just like, just angry or what have you. I want them to know it wasn't them. I was being
Right.
accountable to them. I was telling them that I was being triggered to things in my past. And I didn't understand it. I didn't know. But I shared with them that it wasn't them. And you know what? Ken, they started to see me as a human being. And that's when really I saw the shift. And
Wow.
I wasn't talking at them. I was just sharing. I wasn't giving them advice. And I also recognized that they're growing. Like, you want your kids to be independent. And they're
Sure. Of
more
course.
independent, middle school to high school to college. They're not living at home
Yeah.
anymore. College, then they have a job. They're moving out. They're different at every stage, and you want them to. And I want the parents to understand, they're not distancing themselves. They're getting more independent. So you have to reframe the conversation, and
Yes.
change how you communicate to them.
That makes so much
Communicate with,
sense.
because you're always going to be that person who they want to know that you love them. I don't know how old you are. You want to know your parents loved you and thought you were worthy.
Yeah.
You can be that beacon of light. You are the one that they're going to go to. Yes, they're going to get married. They're going to have a partner or a relationship. They're going to have that too, but you're always going to be that beacon of light. And that's if you choose to be. You can be
Right.
not, or you can. So that's what text messages became for me. And it became my mission in life to start this movement, work with parents and grandparents. And you don't have to have kids or you don't have to. You could have anybody who matters to you that you want to know, let them know they matter. Start there, because what happens, Kim, is it becomes like this whole ripple effect. Once you start doing this daily, you start communicating to your team, to your colleagues, to your community. You
So
just start
I love that.
empathizing.
Yeah, it's not just, it doesn't have to be just your children. It's the relationships, people, the human relationships in your life.
Right. Like, just be a real human being. And when you're doing it with your kids, because you have that love, right? But
Yeah.
that love stays with you, and you just start sharing with everybody. It doesn't matter if it's business. You can lead with empathy and heart. Why not? That's human framework. That's human messaging framework.
I love
People
that,
respond
that
to that.
ripple effect.
The ripple effect is, and then when I wound up being diagnosed with cancer, in 2025, the ripple effect was that I understood that God had me messaging for another reason, and I didn't know it. And that was, every message I was sending of love, gratitude, resilience, especially these kind of messages, I was
Yeah.
really connecting to myself. I was talking to myself, and I didn't know it. And that was the
Wow.
big aha moment. And I connected deeper to God. I started understanding that this is not just here or here. I'm actually helping myself a lot more. And I didn't realize that part of it at all.
Yeah. Yeah. That is amazing. So it's really about relationships. It's really about being seen today
Mhm.
by other people. It's making those connections, whether, business, leadership, family. So what does that mean to you now compared to earlier in your career or your early business?
It's really interesting because early on, like, if somebody, like, you'd hear a sad story, I would say, "Oh, that's so sad." But I never felt it. I never really let myself in relationships get, like, I would react. I was very reactive. Okay. I never would allow myself to get curious or to understand somebody's why, or to, you know, feel, like I said, like, the ability to be empathetic, but also to receive empathy. Somebody would ask me how I was. I was always, "I'm fine. I'm fine. How are you?" Like, I never had that. I always had that kind of a wall thing going on. Like, I wanted to be the good girl. I was multitasking. I was taking care. Like I said, I was very externally validated. Like, my whole validation was external. So the more I did for somebody, the better I worked, the harder I did, the more I put people before me. That was how I measured things. And now I don't measure things that way. Okay. I don't measure, like, I actually can ask for help. I don't have to just take everything on myself. I don't get the burnout feeling that I used to. I don't get resentful, because the relationship I realize there are two ways. They're two-way streets in a lot of ways. So
Right. Yeah.
so when you build a relationship that's like that, and like with my sons, especially over this past year, they started messaging me back. They started saying, "What can I do for you? What do you need?" So I started having this give and take. I never was one that could ask for anything. I never was one that could receive very well. And now I can. I can do that. And that's a big thing for me. And that's, I think, the biggest shift I've had, was definitely empathy, feeling compassion. Um, yeah, like those kind of things. And that's the biggest
That's
thing I changed.
huge, Annie.
Yeah.
That's huge because you think about it too. You're accepting that from your sons, who the roles in your life have been, you are the nurturer, you've taken care of them and everything. It's hard to let somebody take care of you, especially if you've been a mom, and but that's really awesome. That's
Well,
really
also,
awesome.
like, just to ask people, like, I don't know the answers, right? So to ask for
Yeah,
help,
to
I was
be,
always the type that I didn't want to even ask a colleague, like, oh, can you help me with this? Or no, I would do it myself, you
yeah.
know?
You didn't
And
want
the
to put
same thing,
somebody out.
yes, and I don't want to. You also you work, the mask. You don't want anybody to know what's actually happening, what's going on. You want to look like you're totally in control. And
Hmm.
I didn't like it if anybody questioned what I thought or said.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, yeah, like I don't get defensive. I used to get very defensive, and especially in business if you question anything I did or said. So I'm realizing like now I don't have to be defensive. I don't. I'm more open to even different views. I never could accept a different viewpoint even. So this is a big jump for me and a big leap for me. But I really feel it's because I've opened myself up,
Yeah.
in a
Oh,
different
you definitely have.
yeah.
It's funny because I think about becoming an entrepreneur and the difference from my corporate job as, in an agency where I laugh, I tell people about this, the difference. When I was working in the agency, we, were running around, there could be complete chaos and, you're running around with your hair on fire and then all of a sudden you open the door, open the theater curtains when a client comes and everything's like perfect. It's always perfect, even if it's chaos. It's perfect. So I took that into my entrepreneurial world, thinking everything had to be perfect, and really, it holds you back so much because, especially because if you're an independent business owner, a solopreneur, working, doing so much on your own, if you don't let yourself be, you know, a little bit imperfect, you're never going to move forward because there's always going to be something that isn't done. And, you know, giving myself the grace to not have to have everything perfect, or letting people come and help me when, I didn't want to admit that I didn't know everything.
Well, yeah, because that's not how we're programmed, right?
Right.
Like, you can't let people see you vulnerable. But
No.
vulnerable is what makes us human. So it's
Yeah.
like we're not machines.
Yeah.
Not machines. So
Exactly.
like why do we have to behave like everything's perfect?
Yeah.
That's not
Uh,
how it is.
I relate to this so deeply.
You know what I loved about like really understand. I used to be very competitive, you know,
Yeah.
like competitive that I looked the best or I my thing was the best or even when I was very into sports, like I had to win, like I was very competitive. And I thought, yeah, the competitive people, when you come out on top, you're on top. But really, I found what's most gratifying is when collaborating with people. Like we're so judgmental as a species, you know.
Yes.
I'm very much into Shazad Shamin's positive intelligence, and you know, basically the overriding thing is we're judges. We judge each other, we judge ourselves, we judge situations,
Yeah.
and I was very much, judge. And then there's other saboteurs that come into play with the judge, and I kind of was like, maybe I need to stop, being judgmental. Maybe I need
Yeah.
to just take a step back and just not judge myself either, you know?
And stop worrying if you think other people are judging you.
Yeah, there's a great story about that. So one of my there was two really interesting things. Rudy Rayskin, who is a coach that I work with, he did two things that I thought was very interesting. One was when we first started working together, he was like, I want you to take a journal. And for 21 days, I want you to write down on every page like things that you're proud of that you accomplished, where you're like, wow. And I said, are you nuts? 21 pages? I want to be able to fill the page. Why would
Yeah.
you? It's like it's an assignment, and so you've been around this many years. Try to think of it. You know what, Kim? I filled it up, and I had more to write because we don't even think of the things that we've accomplished. We're only thinking about what we don't have, what we haven't done, why we're not this, why do they have that? Like, because we're judging ourselves. And the
Yeah.
other thing that was really like a really great story that got me to start thinking differently is you set up you have a dinner party, right?
Yeah.
You invite guests over, and some guests better than the other, and somebody brings two people, you're like, okay, fine. And these two people are just they're just loud, they're kind of rude, they're not helping, they're not, and you're just like thinking, oh my God, this is awful. Not only is this the worst thing I've ever seen and the poorest behavior, but the person who actually brought these two, I'm never having them over again because this is so disrespectful to me.
Right.
Okay. So the other way to look at it is, it has nothing to do with you. This isn't about you, their behavior. They might have grown up in a house that this is how everybody acted around the table, and they don't know any better.
Yeah.
And it's not about you. I always used to take this is against me. They're being, and the truth of the matter is that that's all that judge stuff. And it's really not about you. And people aren't really thinking like, I need to hurt Tammy Cohen, or I need to do this, or I need to do that. They're in their own world. And I did some work with Kelly Talixon. She's amazing. She wrote The Voiceless Soul. And she was like she talks a lot about generational discord. And she said, most people, grown-ups, are children. They're children, adult bodies. And you're looking for three things. You're looking for worthiness, safety, and love.
Yeah.
That's what everybody's looking for. What does that tell you? We're looking for human things. We're not looking for the yacht and the money and then this. We're looking to feel worthy. We're looking for safety. We're looking for love. And
we're looking to feel
to us. And if they don't give it to us, we get angry, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. You're right. I have to ask you this. What's one thing you wish more people understood about connection that could change how they show up?
Okay, I think when you're like talking about the human framework, kind of like people, if you're going to connect to somebody, okay, and you're going to share and you're going to build something, don't be a control freak about how they respond, if they're responding, if they're not. If there's somebody you want to reach out to, you do the work. Then you make it happen. You can decide when maybe you don't want to do anything, but when it comes to family, you never stop.
Yeah.
You never stop reaching out. You never say like, you know what, they don't want me. It doesn't matter. You have to be unconditional on some things. And I think that's really what people need to understand. Like I said before, it's not a one-off. So if you're building a business relationship and this is a relationship you want, you have to really look at who you're building that relationship with. What are their pain points? What do they need?
Yeah.
What isn't working for them? Do your homework, understand, and then figure out how you're going to help them solve the problem, because it's not about you. When you start connecting and you want to build a relationship, you have to think about the person. What do they need?
Yeah.
What's their pain point? And how can I help? How can I serve? If you're going to come from it as how do I serve when you're trying to build a relationship, and how can I lead with my heart, understand, message without control, send them information without control, be real and be consistent, you will build that relationship. It might take time. Nothing's, this overnight stuff and this viral stuff, it's not real.
No.
When you really want to have a relationship and build trust, you have to put the time into it. You have to be real about it. Don't do it for a gain. Don't do it to get a client. I always say to people,
you can't fake it. You can't really fake it.
No, you have
because
to really
people can feel that. People feel that.
That's a human radar, because we are human beings, right? Like your antenna, like something's picking up. Like
you feel off. Like
off.
This is sketchy.
This isn't meaningful. Like I remember one time I was a business coach I wound up working with. We connected on LinkedIn, and he just was answering. I had so many questions, and he just took the time to answer them and to help me see through things. Didn't ask for anything, didn't ask for anything at all. And this is before like AI was able to put a lot of outreach out there. And I was like, wow, first of all, everything made sense to me. And we got to build trust. And I was like, this person is actually helping me. I'm asking questions. I'm confused about things in business. And this person is helping me. You know what? I'm going to work with this guy.
Yeah.
And like, it was just simple. It was organic. It
Yeah.
wasn't
Because
forced.
you felt that connection.
Yes, because they took the time to help me.
Yeah.
To not make it about, I need another client, to making about, okay, what are you confused about? And let me explain how this would work or how that works, or, just business questions I was asking, because this was the pandemic, and I was like, how do I now go into this completely different world?
Right.
Because everything shut down and it's not in person. And I'm not using those great in person communicative, out there skills that I was using. It's a very different world now. How do I make that work? So that meant a lot to me. Like when somebody would actually take the time to walk me through things without expecting anything, without expecting a transaction or nothing. And that's what you have to be. You have to be non-transactional and be there and put the effort in. People don't want to put effort in, they want to do that, like in that, everything has to be like that. And they're so busy with analytics and algorithm and pipelines. And I know that's important, but that still doesn't build trust. It just
No.
makes things easier. Maybe the automation part of it easier, but it's still a human process.
I love that. I love that. So for someone that's listening who wants deeper connection and visibility, but isn't sure where to start, what's one simple step that they can take?
Well, I always say anything you want to do, break it down into little steps and take one step. That's it. And then the motivation opens up. So it depends what you want to do. Like I say I tell parents, because I'll talk about the book, when they're like, how do I go about that? I mean, like, how do I start a habit? So I'm like, all right, messaging habit. There's a 30, like it's James Clear stuff, building a habit. You have to build a habit. Habits take time. They have 30 to 66 days to enforce a habit. So you just put the prompts there to get you to do it. So think about, okay, I'm going to send a message. I'm going to start messaging my kids. That's what I want to do. That relationship is the most important to me right now. So I'm going to look at what time of the day can I do this? Is it better for me to do it in the morning after I have a cup of coffee while I'm having my coffee? Is it better for me in the evening before I have dinner? What's the time that's going to launch you into doing this? Is it better for me to do it at lunch? I have a minute to think. 10 minutes. You have 960 minutes in a week. Are you going to message Monday through Friday? What's your schedule look like? Set that up. Like these prompts, like just small prompts to get you going. And then when people say, well, what do I write? I don't know what to write. I'm like, okay, here's a book, 215 pages of messages in categories, leadership, gratitude, appreciation, determination, discipline, determination, leadership, whatever you want to take a message, tweak it, get going, get into the pace, start a cadence. And
I love that.
figure out, how do I want to open the message? Good morning, sunshine. To my favorite person in the world, however you want to, how do you want to sign it off? I love you this life to and to the next. Like, how do you want to sign it? And just once you have like that structure, it's really not hard to do, because like I said, it becomes heart-centered. You start talking from your heart, you start sharing from your heart. So that's how I would get people to start. Take one thing, one small thing, and figure out how you're going to do that. I'm working on a 30-day habit building calendar that'll be easy to download with all the prompts on how to start messaging, like the text messaging side. For business, it's a little bit different because I do an assessment and I need to know a lot, like to be able to work on that, like the whys and why you're in business and what do you know about your client? What do you know about yourself? It's a whole deep dive thing. And then we start talking about like your values and your mission and all that. But when
what things that are really important.
Yeah, it's different, but it's still like the same idea of leading this human framework, incorporating the heart, the understanding, the message without expectations, the authenticity, and the nurturing consistency. It's still the same type of guidance, that I use.
I love that. So how can people get hold of you, Tammy?
Well, let's see. Okay. It's easy. So my website is Tammy, Tammyj, as in Jack, Cohen, Cohen. My email is connect@tammyjcohen.com. On Instagram and LinkedIn, I'm Tammy J. Cohen. It's kind of easy. It all goes under my name. I'm available
Where do
for
you hang
speaking.
out the most? LinkedIn or
I, I'd,
Instagram?
I'd say it's pretty equal between LinkedIn
Okay.
and Instagram because parents, a lot of them in parenting groups are hanging out on Instagram. Businesses and brands they're on LinkedIn. I'm kind of both places,
Yeah.
um, and also speaking opportunities. I'm always open to those. I have some coming up, so it's exciting, and yeah, I love doing that. I love getting up on a stage and helping people see things a little differently and how they build relationships.
Such a refreshing conversation, Tammy. I really enjoyed this. If you want to reach out to Tammy, I'm going to make sure that you have all of her contact information. And don't forget the book. Show the book again, please.
Text
Because I think
message.
this is an amazing book,
Thank you.
and I think it's amazing. It's a great way to think about it in business as well. So pick up the book. Text messages to my sons. Yeah, she did this to more than one person. So I love it. Thank you so much for joining me today, Tammy.
Well, thank you so much, Kim, for having me. I love the conversation. I love the way you were, framing everything in time into connection and humanity, and where we need to get back to. So,
Yeah, we all need to
yeah,
chat a bit more about it. So,
yeah, we need to get
um,
back to it.
and if you want to connect, let's connect. I'm here too. So connect with myself or with Tammy. We are real people and we're looking for real conversation. So we'll see you next time in The Scene Live. Take care now.
Bye.